We love horror movies from the 70s and 80s, and we watch them for 2 days straight, and then we go write a book. Now we're looking back at every title, one at a time, in this podcast that we put out monthly. Once we've had an episode for every movie, it's time to meet up for another Shock Marathon. All right, a little glitch there in the otherwise flawless song. Welcome to the Shock Marathons podcast. I'm your host, Matt Farley. I'm here with Tom Scalzo.
Hello.
Ava Scalzo.
Hi.
Charlie Roxburgh.
Greetings.
And we're talking Night of the Creeps from 86. There it is, right there, 1986.
Tom's got the VHS right there.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. There's a different movie called, like, Night of the Creep. No, I'm thinking Night of the Demon, right? You guys,
possibly.
It's definitely Night of the Demon is a movie.
I feel like there's a Night of the Demon and a Night of the Demons. Don't quote me on that one.
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
Okay, there we go.
There's Night of the Juggler.
That's also true.
There's other Night ofs.
Lots of nights.
Everyone gets their night.
Very badly for these characters.
There's 365 of them, and there's a night for everybody. Night of the Creeps begins with 2 minutes of opening credits with creepy music and the graphic on the screen. And I wanted my 2 minutes back. I was like, what? Why? Just start the movie, Charlie.
I love those opening credits. They're by Ernest D. Farino, who I met at a screening of Alien Factor. I said hi to him, and I liked his work, special effects guy. So he worked with Doller, went on to work on a bunch of other movies, including some really big stuff. But nice Doller connection there, that Ernest D. Farino did those credits.
If I ever meet Ernest, I'm going to be like, Ernest, I want my 2 minutes back. Nothing against Ernest. I actually like the graphic and the design of the word is cool. It's just like, I don't know, just start the movie. Anyway, now
you might miss something if you're rolling the credits over some exciting action as opposed to letters slowly congealing.
True. I don't know.
You getting your popcorn.
Yeah.
I mean, it gives you a moment to like really settle into the mood of this film, which I have to say it's a pretty good mood for this film.
Yeah.
It's very comfortable. Now we see some aliens shooting blasters in a Star Wars Death Star-esque series of hallways. They're trying to prevent an experiment from getting off the ship. We know this because the subtitles are in both their language and English, huh?
Yep.
So
awesome.
It's like the best.
That is a nice touch.
Just to make sure that we really understood that it was an alien language. We got to see the pictographs and see our own native language.
Charlie.
It looks a little bit like Predator kind of writing there, which is a nod to Dekker's buddy Shane Black. But I really thought that the second you see that, you know that this is like a lighthearted movie too, because they don't do that in a normal hard action movie or something. They're like, okay, this is gonna be like a young person being a little wild and fun and fancy free.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most movies wouldn't have this scene at all, right? It would just it would never happen, even if it got pitched. I'm glad they made it.
So they fail at preventing the experiment from escaping. It does indeed escape towards Earth, and now we're on Earth. It's 1959 on Sorority Row. Smoke Gets in Your Eyes is playing, and this is a different kind of movie. If they can afford the rights to all these 50s classics, it's like, man, this is
It ain't no Redeemer.
Thank you.
It's a real special. Let's just be clear.
Well said. Okay, so that's playing some college kids. It's in black and white. More opening credits. Like, they couldn't get them all in that first 2 minutes. There's more opening credits, folks.
And huge crane shot, like just huge, expensive shot, like really well staged with tons of extras, kids talking. Everything is just like pristine, you know?
It's very nice. Yes, very nice. A young man approaches the sorority house. Inside, some young women are doing sorority things like gossiping on the phone and brushing their hair and reading a book. He tosses a rock to the window to get the attention of one of them. And now we see them parking at an overlook. Ava?
I just have to say that while this seems like it's meaningless dialogue, what makes this movie special in some ways is the fact that there is clearly a script and that not one scene of this movie doesn't pay off. So like even this conversation, this phone conversation that's random, it's actually giving you context and information for stuff that will happen later that you don't even know. Like you might think like, oh, this is just background noise, but it's not. That's what one of the things I actually like about this film is the fact that they actually really plotted this out pretty carefully.
Yeah, yep, it's tight and professional.
So well thought out.
Yeah. It's super professional. So Put Your Head on My Shoulder. Put Your Head on My Shoulder by Paul Anka is playing. Then Ray, the police officer, interrupts them, warning them that there's a crazy man on the loose. Before he realizes he knows the woman in the car. It's Pam. They have a past. He just tells her to scram with her new boyfriend. And then the cop leaves. So that's a different actor at that point playing the cop, right? Okay, good. He leaves, and then above, like this, the escaped pod sails above them and crashes, and so they drive to go check it out. The young lovers do. Yes, Charlie.
Beautiful visual effects there. That thing looked so good. I mean, as good as I've seen in just about any movie that I wanted to see, like streaking and then like light behind the pines. It was just beautiful.
Yeah. And this is all in black and white, too, still, I believe, right?
Yeah. It is.
All right, so they pull over the car. Johnny tells Pam to wait in the car after they pulled over so he can go check out what's going on there. Pam hears a report of the axe-wielding maniac on the radio. Johnny, she quietly calls out, but Johnny's too deep in the woods to hear her. And then, Tom.
Just this is not connected really, but I got a little Creature from Black Lake feel here. You know, the flashback to parking on the road and someone going out into the woods to see what's going on. You know, it's just a very similar kind of setup.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that one thing we need to say about this movie is actually that it does kind of have an homage to many other movies that inspired the filmmakers. Clearly,
no question.
Including later on, we'll see some of the characters' names.
Yeah. I hope they watched Creature from Black Lake. That would be great.
So the maniac's on the loose. She calls out quietly to Johnny. He can't hear her. Something in the pod jumps out. One of these little slugs jumps into Johnny's mouth, and then Pam gets killed with an axe. And ta-da! That's our prologue. Charlie.
Another just so many nice touches in this movie. Her crying out there is just like, the stuff of, I idealized scared little losing your voice cry. It's just a nice touch. I think she really delivered it, and they were smart to have her, go for that angle, the classic I'm too scared to cry in a sort of cute way. It was very nicely done.
Yeah.
So it's 1986. Two nerdy guys. Their names are JC. He's the guy who needs the crutches, and his friend Chris. They're discussing their depressed lives while everyone else is having a grand old time all around them. And then Chris sees a girl, and he's instantly in love with her. They follow her to the Beta House. She's talking with some frat guy, JC, who has no what does he have? No scruple. No
game.
No game. Did you say no game?
Yeah, JC. Okay, I got confused.
JC's fearless.
Has no shame about anything.
That's it.
JC has a little pahu in him.
Yeah,
he does. Yeah.
He's good. He just wants life to be interesting, and I like it. So he interrupts a conversation she's having with Steve, the frat guy. He tells Steve he's got a phone call, and Steve falls for it, and it gives JC enough time to find out the girl's name is Cindy, and to point out that his friend Chris is interested in her. But then Steve comes back, JC leaves. So I like well, just like we said. I mean, he's kind of like insane, borderline. I mean, when he's gonna press the button on the door and whatnot, he doesn't care. He's just like, let's live it up, and it's a great philosophy, Charlie.
Yeah, and I thought he's a great character, and so many of the side characters are so well defined, where they could have been just more bland or one-offs that we don't see again. So Steve here is clearly defined. He's like a football player. Yeah. The way his eyebrow is, the way he acts, is gonna pay off. It could have been random jock who we never see again, who didn't have anything defining about him. So as I was watching this movie, I watched it 2 times for this podcast. I was just like, man, they didn't miss a beat, you know? And when we see the zombies later, they could have been random jock and like frat guy zombies, but they were specific zombies.
Yeah. I mean, I think everything about this, unlike so many of these other films where the script was just like dialogue and the actors were kind of half-assing it, improvising, or just like, talking. This script, it was clearly very well plotted, very like defined. And it really it makes a big difference, I think, in your overall enjoyment of the film.
Yeah. It's after Redeemer, especially. It just makes you feel free and just like you're in good hands. These are professionals, and we're just gonna let them do what they do. So
the scenes have that tightness to them. I'm sorry to cut you off there, Farley, but you're like, okay, it's got the sort of a beginning, middle, end, a point, and then it's refreshing when it's over and goes to a new scene. It's not just a bunch of blended together, goop.
And it continually pays off. Like that's the thing. Like you see a scene and you're like, okay, but then like down the line, you're like, oh, that's why they included that moment.
Yeah, so cool.
And it doesn't feel overwritten like Campus Corpse, or other things like that. Have we done Campus Corpse yet for the podcast?
I don't think so.
I can't wait to get there.
I don't hear anybody talking about that movie.
We got to bring it back.
Yeah.
Just on the streets, I'm just like, anyone? Campus Corpse? Anyone want to talk?
We could follow up this one with Campus Corpse. Oh, the vibe,
Yeah.
I do tell you how the vibe has changed.
All right, so the nerds decide they have to join a frat. It's the only way they can impress this girl. So they somehow have a meeting. They get a meeting with the betas right away, and the betas are not too impressed with them. But they give the nerds a job to do, and we don't know what it is yet. But the nerds go off on their way to do this job, and they don't even care. They're just like making them do it without any intention of even letting them in the frat. And then Cindy shows up and kisses the Bradster. Brad. Oh. Just total jerk. Bradster. Total 80s, over-the-top 80s jerk guy. And they don't belong together.
It's amazing even the way he talks. Everything he says, he's like, maybe, yes, we could do something about that in the future. Like... He's just annoying immediately.
And he's got Bradster on his license plate, right, Charlie?
Yeah, I think around it says, Teresa pointed this out when we had it on, I think in the small print it says, it's not easy being perfect. Around Bradster. So not only is that a nice character detail, but the production design, that's next level detail. But I will say, I think he's fun to watch too. Some jerks in movies are not fun to watch, but this guy's pretty oddly fun to watch.
Yeah, it's a good point. Sometimes the jerks are so mean that you recoil when you're watching them in action. But The Bradster just mean enough. All right, so now JC and Chris are now in this underground hallway doing their job for the betas. And they just come to a door, and JC just punches a button. We saw earlier that like the tech the graduate technician helper had typed in part of the code but forgot it, and so I guess JC was just lucky enough to have hit the proper final number in the code, and ta-da, it opens up to this scientific experiment room where there's a cryogenic guy in like the carbonite or whatever Luke is put in Empire Strikes Back, to be warmed up.
Khan is the one who's put
No, I mean the one that Luke is put in after he's been cold in Hoth. Yeah. Remember, he's in one of those too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, like that.
The healing, medical thing.
It's a strange mix of those two things. The process matches what is done to Han, but the look of the thing is more of a Luke thing. Anyway.
Yeah.
So JC is like reckless and anarchic. He just pushes the button, like the disengage button, like, which is insane. He doesn't care. But what's great is later on he's gonna explain why, and it's great. So they take the body out of the container. Then the scientist arrives, and the two guys are running out frantically. Why? Because this cryogenic guy is alive, and he starts choking the technician. So now JC and Chris return to their dorm, where JC lectures Chris on how Chris isn't doing enough to achieve happiness in his life. If you take it seriously, you just get depressed all the time, like you are, says JC. And that's such great advice. I love it. I want to be this reckless. Like, why not? Yeah. Right, Charlie?
Yes. As I was watching that, I was thinking the same thing, and I was thinking this is not your normal level of emotion in a movie. This is like an uncommonly meaningful sort of talk that happens right here, in a good way.
Yeah.
Usually it's just hijinks or, something that's a little cheesy. If anyone wanted to like be laughing or tease this movie, I don't think you really can at this point, because you're like, wow, the actor JC's doing an awesome job and he's making like good points. So you're kind of like earning respect as you watch that scene.
Yeah.
Now, a man it's a dream of a man in a white suit on the sand. He's being given a pineapple drink by a girl in a bikini. She leaves, and now he's watching a woman in a dress come out of the water. It's Pam, right? From the prologue. And this dream is the dream of the police detective Cameron, who was the cop in the prologue. Now he's all grown up, and he's played by the guy from Halloween 3.
Tom Atkins.
So good.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, real good.
Legendary.
Phone rings, and he gives his catchphrase, "Thrill me," which is great. I want to add, I don't know if I have it in my notes, but a little later he says to someone like, "You woke me from a great dream," But we know it was kind of a horrible dream, where he's dreaming of his first love who was killed. But he's a dark man, a dark guy, a dark soul, if you will.
Got some issues.
He's been called to the lab where the technician's dead. He's got a lot of lines, a lot of catchy lines. One of them, he says, "Is this some kind of bad B movie?" Just especially early on, it's just rapid fire. Like a hard-nosed detective kind of thing, right, guys? Tom?
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely hard-nosed detective, but he's also got like, it's almost he has lines that are so corny. If it was anybody else saying them, it would be terrible. Like when people say Detective Cameron, he's like, "No, it's the Easter Bunny," whatever he says, Yeah. But like he's so angry and depressed all the time, like you kind of just go with it.
He sells it. Yeah, Charlie.
And didn't you guys think it was interesting when they went back to his dream sequence, when it's him in his current face, like his current age, dreaming that he's back at the crime scene.
Yeah.
This time it's in color. So you kind of get like inside of his head that now he's dreaming, but he doesn't dream of himself as his kid, 20-year-old
right.
age.
No, yeah.
That's cool. I mean, that's some real thought.
Yeah.
So now the zombie body is roaming the streets. Now, which body is it? It's the original body. Now, who is that body? Is that the guy?
Yeah, it's Johnny from the car. I mean,
Okay.
they show it with his real like tall crew cut that's kind of gelled up.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the giveaway that this is the same guy who somehow behind the scenes somebody recovered that body back in 1959 and froze it or something.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened there.
In the midst of an axe murder spree,
Yeah.
so someone
A lot was going on.
Froze him
and realized something weird was going on scientifically. Yeah.
Okay, so back in 1959, Johnny gets a slug in his mouth, but there's other slugs there, right? Ava, was there just one slug?
Yeah, I think so,
In the
Well, it's like one slug. I think there was more than one slug, right?
There's
Because-
ooze. Like there was like a
there
whole
was in the
ooze.
tube.
The tube was all full of ooze, which I imagine is like the source of the slugs.
Yeah.
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 I
Okay.
think so.
But like, what you would just need one to like shoot into your brain
but where'd the rest
stem
of
or
them go?
something, and then the rest of them kind of like disappeared into the earth.
Or the authorities cleaned it all up and cryogenically froze Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what happened. I think we're supposed to believe there were no other ones around.
There are no
except-
loose
yeah.
slugs. No loose slugs around from 1959. They were able to clean it up. Look, we were just saying how professional and tight the script is, but there are a few questions.
Well, and Atkins would theoretically have known about some of that, right? 'Cause he was
on the
there.
scene. Yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't seem to know about it.
Right.
Maybe, but he was also concerned with his revenge.
And he was like, he had a different focus.
That's
like he
true.
had his
That's true. I'm not questioning Atkins or the movie.
It's a different set of authorities who are dealing with the
medical
Feds.
FBI, medical people. He was just a rookie cop on the beat.
That's true. That's true.
All right. Cindy gets dropped off by the Bradster, who has pledged things to do. I love how just like it's so simple. Like they don't bother with like lots of obstacles towards getting Cindy and Chris together. It's just exactly what you want to happen with so little resistance, and I'm fine with that.
Less than there should have been.
Oh yeah.
Way less.
Usually it's piled on. It's piled on in movies, but this one, it's like this wouldn't have happened, and it's fine. This is a wish fulfillment kind of situation. Cindy returns to the sorority house. Another girl asks if she can store some human brains in the basement as part of her science project, and Cindy's like, yeah, whatever. Just don't leave them on the main level.
Normal request.
Definitely some bells will go off in our head, and we're like, I think this is going to come back at some point, Charlie.
It's like an example of how this movie can have its cake and eat it too, sort of.
Yeah.
It like teases B movies while it is a B movie. So they needed those brains to go in the basement, like for the plot. But as a sort of, experienced viewer, you're kind of like, that's a little odd and kind of like forced in there. But we
they
like
know
that
it, and they know
we're
it.
Celebrating we're celebrating the form.
We know that the writers know.
Yeah.
Cindy gets into her nightgown, looks out the window. Nothing in the first window, but in the second window, there he is, the zombie guy. And the little black slugs are slithering around. And now cut to Detective Cameron sniffing a flower in front of the sorority house before continuing to the scene of the crime. And it's just the body lying there, the body of the cryogenic guy. So now JP and Chris encounter the frat guys on campus, and they're mad because they think the nerds, or they think JP and Chris brought the corpse to the sorority house, which wasn't what they told them to do. But of course, the nerds didn't even do it, and the Bradster knocks JC to the ground. Cindy's there. She sees the whole thing, and that's it. She gives the finger to Bradster, and then joins the nerds. Ava.
Yep.
Ava.
In the most cheesy, ridiculous way. She does the whole, I'm rolling up my finger the way, I'm rolling up a window.
Yes.
Yeah. Classic.
It's just a classic.
And it's
moment.
like, Cindy, come on, just get to it. Just give him the finger and move on.
Yep.
It took a little too long.
But the crowd liked it more with her presentation, I think. The people who gathered around and clapped for her.
Yes.
Now,
oh snap! That's what they were thinking.
Yeah.
Now the cops bring the two nerdy guys in for questioning. The janitor's there because he spotted them running outside the building, and I think JC tries to get away with not admitting it, but Chris wait. Which one of them admits to it? I'm sorry.
You're right.
Yeah,
okay.
Chris. Yeah.
Chris is just like, yeah, it was us, Charlie.
And Ray talks. He says that the prank was in the ballpark of collegiate tomfoolery, which I thought was a lovely line.
That's real good. That's real good. Now the body of the lab tech is back to life and escapes the morgue. I guess is that where he is? And just gets out. One cop. He passes a cop on his way. The cop is looking down. Charlie.
The tradition of people in morgues eating sandwiches or food, that's a thing. I'm right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I'm right.
Yeah.
I would tempted to write an essay on that, but how many times do I see that in horror movies? Every time they have a morgue, they're getting a little comedy out of the person putting a sandwich down on the body or eating right there, or like.
Yeah.
Even detective movies, it's always the coroner guy is always eating in every kind of situation like that. It's like they don't care. I don't know why that's a thing, but it's always there.
Yeah.
I think it's partly, it's because generally speaking, most people are disgusted by the idea of death on the table in front of you, right? That's not when you would normally decide to ingest food. So it's like a easy way to get comedy out of it, them eating whatever.
Yeah.
I think usually sandwiches are the go-to.
But I would think that at some point
it would die down, or
they'd be like, man, doesn't every movie do this joke?
Right? You would think.
Okay, now tell me this. So the body of the lab tech, he immediately gets back to the school building and kills the janitor? Is that the janitor from the meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he's still laughing about the fact that
screaming like banshees.
Yeah. Right. So the cop said accused Chris and JC of running out screaming like banshees, and for whatever reason, the janitor finds that particular line hysterical. He keeps laughing, so he's literally mopping the hallway after this whole meeting, and he goes, screaming like banshees, ha 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 ha, and then all of a sudden he looks up and then he gets the lab tech slug in his face.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit of a leap. I mean, he got from the morgue to the police station back to the basement hallway, it's a bit of a leap. I'm gonna let it go. There's more slimy slugs slithering around. Cindy gets a phone call from the Bradster. It doesn't go well. Now, is that the girl who takes the phone call? We see her a couple times. She's a recurring character.
Yeah.
Gordon the cat shows up at the sorority house, but he's morphed into a zombie cat, right? When did that happen? Do we know, or was that all off camera?
That happened when Cindy first sees the 1950s corpse.
Yeah.
When he kind of drops to the ground or something, the cat is out in the yard, and that's when he gets the zombie bloods.
Anyway, now Cameron's always just goes back home after every, he's constantly going back home so he can get a phone call to go back to work. Just back and forth all the time. but he's called to deal with the death of the No, who's he there to death? Who's he go to deal with? The lab tech or the janitor? It must be the lab tech, right?
I think so.
So basically, you turn into a zombie.
No, it's the janitor at that point.
Okay.
No, it's the lab tech. It's the lab tech. I guess you're right, because we don't see the janitor's body till we're in the bathroom.
Okay. You turn into a zombie, and then you can infect one other person, then you kind of die. Is that generally the way it goes?
Your head splits apart, right? And then the slugs extract, and they go out, and then I think you die after that.
Charlie.
Do you guys think they were trying to like tie together the head splitting apart from the bugs with the head splitting apart from the axe? They must have been, right?
Oh, definitely, yeah, because he talks about it, right? At one point, Atkins says, like, does that look like an axe wound to you? Like, he mentions it.
Yeah, so when they found the first boyfriend dead in the woods, they might have thought that he was a victim of the axe. No, but then why would they have cryogenically frozen? But
yeah, there are a few questions.
Yeah, because he wouldn't have been. He wouldn't have been yet, right? He didn't have the slugs didn't escape from that guy yet, so his head would not have been split.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because he didn't have that yet.
It was just in him still.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and the girl was chopped. The Pam was chopped up and left all over the place, but the boyfriend was left intact. So that proves that the axe murder didn't get him. But yeah, that whole, I guess it's thematically kind of nice to tie together the head splitting, but it made me think a little bit, a little confused, like just slightly by it.
Yeah.
All right, now Cindy knocks on the door of JC and Chris. She wants to take a walk with them, and that's a sweet little moment. It's like, way to go. I don't buy that she likes him. Like Chris is not all that likable. Like JC is interesting, likable. Chris just kind of is there, right, Tom?
Yeah. I mean, I think as the scene progresses, you realize that she just wants to talk to someone who possibly could understand what she's thinking about, right? What she's experienced. I think more than she's coming there because she liked him.
Right.
I think it's just convenience, right? Because she kind of knows that he might be connected to something, and she had a weird experience, and that's kind of what she says.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted someone to talk to about it.
And there are a couple of like smart guys who aren't doofuses and might hear her out. But even still, I wish the Chris character he's not that interesting. Like JC is much more interesting. Chris doesn't have a lot going for him. Charlie.
And Chris whines.
Yeah.
You never have your main character whine in a movie. It's it's a little too much. He's a little too whiny, a little too cryy.
Yeah.
So they go on a walk. She's upset about the whole dead cat situation. She tells them that the dead guy's body had come to her window. And JC just totally just mocks her. He's like, woo, like totally making fun of her, which is pretty great, because again, he's like an anarchic guy. He's like, what does it matter? Like, she's not going to want to date me. I might as well just make fun of her. And that's awesome, Charlie.
I will say a little bit. Teresa said this too, but as we were watching it, I was like, they should be a little more open to believing her, since they found a secret lab room with a cryogenic frozen body who maybe just came to life, and then on a different campus grass that they didn't leave him on. I mean, they should kind of know that something weird is going on.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like what they've experienced, they would be a little more open-minded to what she's talking about. It's not totally out of the realm of possibility that this is an extension of what happened before.
Yeah. I mean, that's an element in a lot of these movies. Like, in any movie with the supernatural, it's like that moment where someone's trying to convince someone of something. And I feel like a lot of movies don't get it right. Where either the person listening is over dismissive, or they're over accepting of it, but it's a fine line for sure, and I don't know how I would do it in real life. But anyway, Chris tries his best to be understanding, but he's like, maybe I should walk you home because you're crazy. And it's like, hey, Chris, this is the girl of your dreams. Like, you idiot. Just pretend that you believe her.
That's the thing, too, right? Regardless of anything else.
Yes.
He loves her, allegedly, right? It's like everything she says, you should be totally on board with.
Yeah. Like, zombies? Absolutely.
Doesn't he know?
Yeah. JC
excuses himself
to the bathroom.
Yeah.
The janitor is there. He's a zombie now. JC.
So wait, it's just one.
Yeah.
One thing about this, it seems like he's excusing himself just so they could be alone, right? But then he actually goes to the bathroom, which is great. Like, you think he's not actually going to go to the bathroom. He goes to the bathroom, and he doesn't go wash his hands. Like, he goes into a stall and, like, sits down.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
That's what's, like, impressive. It's like, wait, he actually sat down?
He's also writing on the wall in pencil. Does anyone know what he wrote? Did anyone see or no? No. Okay.
I don't remember. He was sort of saying it out loud, actually, I think.
Man,
but I don't remember.
I mean, Striper Rules was so prominent there.
I was asking Ava if she ever listened to Striper, and she said no.
No.
I did.
I think, I don't know, you guys wouldn't be able to correct me right now if I'm wrong, but I think I heard somewhere that somebody knew the band who worked on it and was like, I'm just going to write Striper Rules here. And it ended up like being good promotions for them.
Oh, I had some Striper tapes, man. I loved that. I love Striper.
All right, so he's writing on the wall. When he hears the janitor come in and collapse on the ground, the slugs start coming out. And JC, there's a matchbook just under the stall, and he keeps trying to reach to grab it because he's got a suspicion that maybe fire can kill these slugs. And indeed, he's correct. He finally gets it, lights it on fire. It kills the slug. But poor JC, he's not gonna survive. Like last we see, a slug is climbed up his pants, and it's not looking good for him. And this is bold. I mean, this guy's the heart and soul of the movie, and they're getting rid of him about halfway through. Ava, were you shocked?
I was very shocked. Like, I wasn't. It's not who you expect to die, especially not at this moment in the movie. It's not the climax. It's we're midway through, and usually these nerd guys are the ones who like make it to the end, and he's the one who has figured out the key piece of info. And so the fact that he's like zombified, or presumably zombified at this point, was pretty shocking.
Yeah, and because I like him, I wish he lived. Kill Chris and then have Cindy end up with JC. That would be better.
I mean, the reason Chris doesn't die is because technically he's our name, right? He's
Jason Lively.
It's Jason Lively from.
Oh, what's he from?
European Vacation.
Ah,
yeah.
Okay.
He's Rusty.
From the Lively family of.
Yes, of the Lively family
of actors.
Well, it's like it would have been like Psycho with Janet Leigh. You're just shocking the world by killing him off early on.
It's just like that. It's almost right behind the shock of Psycho.
All right, Cindy and Chris make it to her house. She invites him to the formal, and he's like, "What about Brad?" Chris,
dude! Of all the things to say,
he says the wrong thing every time.
He's like trying to convince her to not go with him, and she's the greatest because she's like, "Tomorrow night, okay?" and just leaves. So like, so Chris is happy for a moment. Charlie.
It seems like the director was saying, like, just be ultra cute. Be as cute as you could be. And she's kind of like pulling out all the stops to be very charming. And it's nice. She succeeds.
She is super dream girl. I mean, I think we talked about that in the initial screening, right? We always have like dream girl category. She's like every scene is like soft lighting, and she's like whispering kind of, and it's the epitome of. I mean, they do that on purpose, obviously, but like the epitome of the dream girl.
And the fact that she's throwing herself at this loser too, you know, for all the losers in the world, it's like, yeah, that could happen, you know. So it's nice. Good old Detective Cameron sees Chris leaving the sorority and then takes him over to his place, where they drink some hard liquor and they talk about high school sweethearts. Gives Cameron a chance to open up about the prologue. Charlie.
I love how he instantly starts calling him Spanky right there. But and he's a perfect tonic for this whininess of Chris. Chris is dancing down the steps, kind of annoying, and I'm like, and then you know Atkins comes in, and you're like, yes, we're back on track.
So Detective Cameron explains that he found the killer after the prologue happened. He says he found the killer by tracking him during his off hours. And he found him, pulled the trigger, wrapped his body, and buried him in the lot behind the sorority, which is now, oh no, it's the house mother's cottage. So that could be a problem, and indeed it is. Charlie.
This is like a masterpiece of a scene here that we're talking about with you know, the detective giving his backstory. They probably talked about it being shades of Quint in Jaws.
Yeah.
But just the camera slowly pushing in, and he's so serious, but also a little sarcastic. And Chris is like so out of his league here. But it is awesome. And there's that moment where Chris doesn't answer the question properly, and the detective still says, close. You know, what do you think happened when I put the trigger up to his chest? Should you be telling me this? You know, echoing back to him just saying that before. I remembered liking it the first time, but as I was watching it again, I thought, man, show this in an acting class, show this in a directing class, show this at the Academy Awards, because it was awesome. It was awesome. The information was cool. The way it's presented was perfect. You know, genius.
So I don't know, maybe we're going to talk about this later, but at some point in this conversation, the Chris character says, like, detective, other than wanting to confess to a murder, is there a point to this story? It's so great. It's like like you were saying, Charlie, it balances this like serious moment with like this weird sarcastic humor, but it doesn't make it like stupid, you know. It's fun. So it's just really nice touch.
Yeah, and then he answers it genuinely.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure that out. You know, like it's so good. All at once there's all this stuff going on that's so good.
It's fantastic.
Now the house mother is watching a sci-fi movie, not just any sci-fi movie. She's watching Plan 9 from Outer Space, which is a classic B movie, which includes corpses coming back to life. Anyway, while she's watching it, she and the dog hear some noise coming from the floorboards, and it turns out that the madman from the prologue, who was buried there by the detective, is now back to life from the slugs, and he's working his way through the floor with an axe, and he gets through, and boom, puts the axe right through the house mother's head. Detective Cameron grabs his shotgun after receiving yet another call about the latest victim. And he drives by Phil's Diner, which looks really nice. You know, the camera kind of lingers on Phil's Diner, and I want to eat there. Is there anything to that you guys know of? It definitely seemed like they wanted to give Phil's a shout-out, right, Charlie?
Yeah, I think that was a beloved L.A. diner. I forget exactly where it was located. Okay. I don't think it's open anymore, but maybe the guy used to like to go there with his buddies. But you're right, it lingers for a second or two more than normal shot.
They get to the scene, and one of the detective's colleagues says, "If we used a stretcher for every piece, we'd be here all night." So the poor lady really got chopped up. Two cops are on the patrol trying to find the axe murderer zombie, and they're almost struck down by. He almost catches them, but not quite. And Cameron hears them over the police radio, and then joins them at an alleyway where they have the zombie surrounded. They shoot him like crazy. It doesn't do anything until Cameron gets him in the head, and slugs escape, causing the cops to look pretty bewildered. But they don't really seem that curious to me. I don't know, Tom.
It's like, well, that was weird.
Yeah.
Let's go home.
Like,
There's a lot of that. Like, everyone kind of forgets what just happened.
They clean it up. Clean it up. They go home and then just wait for 10 minutes for the next thing to happen.
Yeah.
On campus, Chris is looking for JC, who never came home. And Chris has his tux for the formal. So so JC went to the bathroom at least, I'd say, 18 hours ago at this point. And Chris is just like, yeah, that's funny. I don't know where JC is, but I got my Cindy now anyway, so it's fine.
College, man. Whatever.
So, meanwhile, sorority girls are showering and getting dressed for the formal. Slugs are slithering. Frat guys are getting ready for the formal. Girls are applying makeup. More slugs are slithering. Charlie.
Fantastic.
Great montage.
Formal, montage, the details, the music. It's really nicely shot. It's just really fun. It's 80s in a good way. I enjoyed that whole thing.
Chris is just about ready for the dance. At this point, it feels like it's 24 hours since his good friend JC went missing, and he still barely seems to care until he notices that the tape recorder on the desk with a note that says "Listen," and he presses play and he hears, "It's JC. A slug got inside." JC says a slug got inside him through his mouth. And it's in his brain now. He doesn't have a pulse or a heartbeat. He thinks he's dead. He killed one with fire. Fire will kill him. This is an important message he has for his buddy. And he's going to the furnace because he thinks heat will kill them, and maybe it's his only hope to survive. And good luck with Cynthia. Okay. So, I mean, why is he able to do that where the other guys weren't able to do that? Anyone? The other zombies, weren't so human.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's the only thing. He possibly stumbled back to the room and recorded that, and then stumbled to the furnace room before the zombification took over. It's a little bit of a stretch because nobody else did that at all.
They are a little bit more themselves early on, like the frat guy coming to the door, I guess. He's still being himself a little bit. So I guess they have qualities of their original selves. Ava?
And Bradster also sits next to Cindy for a while, and even though he doesn't particularly talk,
he's holding it together to some degree. Yeah.
I guess I think that it's sort of because, and even like if you look back, like the janitor, he's still kind of like mopping or whatever before so he's like still doing his like last task.
Yeah.
That's true.
So maybe it's like this would have been the one thing that would have preoccupied JC, right? Is like getting the message to Chris, who was his bestie there.
And Chris meanwhile is just like la-di-da. Not so much. At least he goes to the furnace room. He finds JC there on the floor with a bunch of sizzling slugs by his body. Meanwhile, Brad is sadly drinking away his sorrow because Cindy isn't going to be his date at the formal, and a zombie dog shoots a slug into his mouth. So that happens. Tom.
This is a very minor thing, but like he's drinking a beer, which is in these situations it's always like a bottle of whiskey or something, right? Like you don't just have a beer because you drink it in like 2 minutes and then like it just weirdly. I mean, I guess it's appropriate because it's a frat guy and like this is just their world, but it's just a weird scene. Usually in those situations, It's not a beer.
Sorrows.
You're right. Yeah.
Cameron is back at home, being Cameron. There's a knock at the door. He ignores it for a while, and then removes the duct tape that he has put in his door. I mean, in terms of time, it's like, where does he live? You know, like relative to the campus. He's able to get home and duct tape his door and get comfortable again. The guy goes back and forth like 6 times in the course of one night. But anyway, it's Chris at the door reporting what happened to JC and how the slugs, what he's learned about the slugs. Then the bus, so there's a bus full of frat guys going to pick up the girls, but the bus driver sees the zombie dog, swerves, and they crash. Charlie.
What do you guys think of that one quick shot to the bus driver's eyes getting big?
It was like glowing.
It was odd, huh?
Yeah, it was weird.
So it was like nothing supernatural, and he obviously hadn't seen any, been infected yet. But it's almost like a Large Marge kind of scenario where there's this one quick glimpse of his eyes like glowing and bigger, just because he was going to get into what was a pretty normal car accident.
Yeah, it was a little strange.
Yeah.
So, now Chris and Detective Cameron go to the weapons room of the police department. Who's that guy? Dick Miller, is that his name, Charlie?
Yeah, Dick Miller.
Dick Miller.
You love him. Yeah.
Love Dick Miller, yeah.
He's the guy in the weapons room, and they're like, we need a flamethrower. And of course they have one. But Detective Cameron has no requisition form. So he pulls the shotgun and aims it at Dick Miller, who then, presumably off camera, decides to cooperate. Charlie?
Oh, 2 titans here. I mean, could we be any happier as like B-movie or cult movie fans than have these guys doing a scene?
No.
I'm happy.
And they didn't I'm sure, I don't know this, but I'm going to say I'm sure that they really worked all the little nuances out together, those 2 actors, and made it like as good as it could be. And it's funny, but it's also a little slightly tense.
Yeah.
And believable all the way through. And he's a really believable, it's good casting. If you think, who's the guy who works in the weapons room at the police basement? Hey, Dick Miller, I buy that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, wonderful. Maybe my favorite scene.
Good stuff.
Zombie dog goes into the bus. Zombie Brad opens the door. Zombie Brad opens the door to Zombie Brad, who calls Cindy. Oh, so one of the frat girls. Then Zombie Brad goes to the door of the sorority, and the girl opens it and calls for Cindy and just shrugs off the fact that Brad looks like a zombie. She thinks it's a prank. Cindy comes down looking stunning in her dress. Not looking at Brad, she takes his hand and walks him outside and says, I was going to call you. Look, I'm sorry things didn't work out. We're just different people. And then slugs start coming out of his mouth. Did you buy that, Charlie? Charlie bought it.
I bought it. I thought it was great. I mean, the whole thing is she doesn't want to look him in the eye. So you take that angle and play it out in this situation, and you got a girl with a zombie and she doesn't know it. And that's cool.
It works, I think.
Right away, Detective Cameron and Chris are there, and they shoot him in the head and then kill all the slugs with a flamethrower, which is great. I love the flamethrower. It's like, all right, we're moving on to another level here. Chris gives Cindy the shotgun so she'll feel better. What a doofus. He's like, there, here, take this, it'll make you feel better, as the frat zombies arrive. Then inside, Detective Cameron's there, and he tells the ladies, I got good news and bad news, ladies. The good news is your dates are here. What's the bad news? One of them asks. They're dead. That's great. Is that like a tagline to the movie or no?
So good.
It's the movie tagline.
Okay.
The good news is your date is here. The bad news is he's dead.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's fun. Yeah.
The syllables are just the cadence, the tone of it. Everything is perfect. You only get 1 or 2 of those in your life if you're a writer.
They don't make like this guy, by the way, this actor Atkinson. They don't make him like this anymore. He's
Atkins, yeah.
He's
a legend. They do not make him like him anymore.
I know. Chris has now... Okay, then we cut back and like they've traded the flamethrower for gun. Interesting how that happened. Like why, right, Charlie?
Yeah, I didn't like it that much.
Yeah. And then we cut back in. Cameron, he tells the girl to lock the door or something, and then a zombie comes and grabs her. And then Detective Cameron, it's Miller time.
Yes. But at one point, was this maybe? I don't know if we've got there yet. I'm confusing the time. But at one point, like the girls start like running outside, and he said, "Don't go out there."
Yeah.
It's like so like befuddled that they would ever do that. But it's just great. Like his reactions are like so natural. You know, it's what you would say. It's not really like an acting thing.
Such unique line readings. And when he walks in and she says, "I'm going to call the cops," and he's like, "You do that.
You do that, yeah."
Now, you know, that whole thing is just like you want to root for him. He's such a hero, and you love seeing him do his thing.
More shooting the heads of zombies and burning the slugs over and over. Cameron gets cornered with a girl by two zombies, but then, oh no, the girl's a zombie too. And then he goes into a crazed rage, which is really fun to watch. And then, he sees the photo of his old high school sweetheart, which gives him that inspiration, and he kills all three of them. It's great.
Yes. That crazed rage is so beautifully shot and edited. It was unbelievable.
I want to make a movie called Crazed Rage. Yeah?
Just watch Tom Atkins, yeah.
Let's put that on the list of things to do. So Chris and Cindy locked themselves... again, Chris is awful. They locked themselves up in the trash shed, which doesn't turn out to be a great idea. And it was her idea, and he's like, really good plan. It's like...
Yeah, you were surrounded. No good options there, really.
Give me a break, Chris, or give her a break. Sheesh.
Yeah.
Zombie breaks through and grabs him, but Cindy blasts him. Oh, yeah. And now the same thing's happening to her, and Chris runs over the guy with a lawnmower and says, "Later, dude." So lots of good tagline moments going on, and it's happening fast and fun. Now the slugs are going into the basement where the brains are. Cindy and Chris get there and see Cameron is there. He's duct taped his lips shut. There's a huge pile of slugs. Then he takes the tape off and catches a slug in midair, which is a nice little touch there.
Officer Wolf style.
And he says, "Don't even think about it," to the slug, too, which is really awesome.
Yeah, I love that. Talking trash to
yeah.
slug.
Cameron is spreading gas over the basement. He winks at Chris and Cindy as they're retreating, kind of like, "I got this, kids, and I'm going to sacrifice myself to make this right." So Chris and Cindy make it outside in time to see the house explode. But right before he does, Chris says, "Detective, thrill me." And that's a good little moment. Then there's a poignant shot of the flower that he sniffed, like in the foreground, as the house is burning. Like, I don't know, like, I liked it, but it's also like, okay, what are you saying? Like, I don't know quite what they're saying here, but I love it.
I don't know what it means.
I know what it means, but it's just, again, like, the attention to detail that everything in this production had. So there's not one thing that isn't called back to or brought back or referred to. Like, they really just made a point of having a very cohesive, concrete vision. Does that work in all things? That's up for debate. But they did that was their aim, and they clearly did it.
Well said.
Yeah, and picture that there. The building's on fire, and you'd have to say, like, "Wait, let me get a shot of the flower in front of the fire," and they'd be like, "That's costing us the money. That's time." You can't just be. But they did it anyway. On this, young filmmakers movie. It's amazing.
"Nice tux," Cindy says as she goes in for a kiss to the undeserving Chris. And in my notes, he's not interesting or likable, I add in the notes. Meanwhile, you think it's over, but the charred detective is alive and walking. He falls to the ground. A couple slugs escape his head. This is not over. The slugs go to Crest Ridge Cemetery. This could be bad. But then there's a spacecraft above, presumably searching for the slugs. What is going on? What, did I get that wrong, Tom?
That's not in the tape.
Oh, Charlie?
I watched the one you watched, Farley.
Okay.
So that's the we watched the director's cut, I think, with the ending with the graveyard. What happens on the tape, Tom? Does it just end?
No, they're standing all outside in a group, and the puppy, the dog, comes, and Cindy goes down to pet it, and you see something shoot out, but you don't see if it actually lands in her head.
Whoa.
That's the end of the tape version.
Yeah.
I kind of like the tape ending better. I mean, we just see some spaceship with a searchlight on it, and then it's over. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I don't know if they were what they were doing there. I mean, like you said, I guess they were searching for the slugs, but I don't know how they all of a sudden knew to go to the graveyard there, and they're just using a flashlight from the ship.
It's been 30 years. You know, like 30 years later, on the exact day that the slugs are out again, they're on a search. You know, like I don't know.
It's a little weird, and it also undermines his heroic sacrifice. Ray detective sacrifice. I would have just been as happy without any shock ending.
So wait, in your version, guys, is the detective scene walking?
No.
Yeah.
No.
No, he
should have just died.
Like you just see the house like incinerate, and then everyone's outside and like sort of in shock, shell shocked, and then Chris and Cindy have like a moment, and then she turns and this little dog approaches, but you don't see you can't tell obviously until she crouches down to pet him that he's zombified, and then presumably then you see like a slug kind of shoot out, but you don't see where it lands.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes the studio's right is the moral of that story. You know, when the studio makes a decision for the director.
Don't quote me though on saying that one was the director's cut and that one was. I just think possibly Farley. I wanted to watch some behind the scenes and more stuff. I tried to buy the Blu-ray before we were gonna do this, and it was on sale at like this Scream Factory website or something. So I logged on to buy it when I saw an email that was on sale, and then the site was like crashed because too many people were trying to buy it. And then I looked like a little bit later, a few minutes later, and it was sold out.
Wow.
But people who look at the behind the scenes on there, I think, would probably know. There's a ton of features, and then I should know more about it, but I don't know all the details.
But I was going to say, I think I did read, like, there is an unofficial sequel to this, I think. So maybe.
Oh, really? Wow.
I thought I saw that on, like, IMDb when I was, like, looking up the movie, that there's some
that'd be interesting.
Unofficial sequel.
Well, let's get some reviews. Charlie, what do you think?
Loved it. Perfect like sleepover movie. It's beautifully shot. I'm really happy that Atkins is in there. They kind of have a good balance between the old cop, the cop and the kids. It wouldn't have worked so great if it was just the kids, but having Atkins in there, I think, brings it up to be one of my more favorite of these like fun 80s cult movies. Lots of love for genre going on in here, and it moves. Good effects, technically just real achievement, and has the energy I think that a young filmmaker does a lot of times. When you see somebody made like the first or second time they get a chance to make a movie, they pour a lot of their heart into it, and it just feels like, man, they were really excited about this movie. They wanted to make this movie. That's how I feel about Night of the Creeps.
Tom?
Yeah, those are good thoughts. I mean, this is obviously like an homage movie instead of, like an original. movie. Like they love these movies, and I think the problem with a lot of movies that just try to pay tribute, they just kind of pick pieces here and there of things that they think they should recreate or emulate, and this movie actually tries to be a real movie, which it is, and it succeeds, and it bakes in all the different pieces that we like to see, but it's not, it works on its own level too. And I think not a lot of movies can do that. A lot of them are like, oh, we gotta have like teens being silly, and we gotta have like a nerd that survives, or we gotta have a cop that's whatever, like the tropes that you try to bake in. But like this is a lot more cohesive and organic, and it still manages to be an homage to all these movies. Like Ava mentioned before, like there's it's just a small thing, but a lot of the characters are named after directors.
Yeah, all of this is from IMDb's trivia page.
Well, we can name them ourselves, right? Because we remember the characters.
I don't remember their characters.
Romero, Raimi, Cronenberg, Carpenter. JC was Carpenter something. Hooper, yeah. Cameron, I guess, is James Cameron.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Landis.
Oh, Landis in there.
John Landis and Steve Miner.
Yeah, Miner.
He's the janitor.
Yeah.
What's your take on the movie, Ava?
I mean, this is one of my favorites of the ones you guys have watched. We've watched it multiple times for like different horror movie marathons, and it's just one that it doesn't get old, really. Like it just has all those elements you want to see in a horror movie. Like even like we've seen so many of these amateur sort of productions where they do that prologue thing, and then the prologue has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. And I was like, not only does this have one prologue, it has two prologues, and both prologues actually pay off. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, my review, I don't love this movie. I don't love it. There's just something, like, I get it. I understand it, and I can recognize the thought and intelligence that went into a lot of it. And I love Atkins' performance, and Cindy is a great character, and JC is a great character. But just something about the whole vibe of it, maybe it's because I don't really like sci-fi movies. And so they're paying homage to a type of movie that I don't really enjoy all that much. But just the tone, it just felt like sometimes it feels like they're in the know a little bit too much for my taste. Like it's a very delicate line, and I can sit through it, but I'm not really excited or thrilled about very much of it. So there, I said it.
You sure did.
That's fine. It's good to have opinions. This is the whole point, right? We talk about these movies like openly, and
yeah. I have one last question to ask you guys about the plot.
Yeah.
At the beginning with the aliens, do you think the alien who's running away is a good guy or a bad guy? The one who releases the thing with the slugs into space.
I'd say he's bad. I mean, the other two guys seem like they're responsible aliens who are just trying to keep their experiment, safe. So I'd say the other guy's a bad guy.
So he's like an anarchist alien. He just wants to like cause trouble and release this dangerous thing out into the space.
He's the JC of the aliens.
Oh, I guess we should shock memories. I don't know. I think I might have liked it a little more this time.
Yeah, I don't know.
What about you guys?
I remember having the same feeling about it that I do now. Just feeling like it was a little bit too glossy, and a little just the humor didn't quite do it for me. And don't get me wrong. I mean, compared to the Redeemer, like obviously it's much easier to sit through this, but I don't get those. I don't get like the feeling I get when I think about the Redeemer, and I start thinking like, why does the kid come out of the pool, and why the double thumb, and what does it have to do with the high school reunion? You know, like that, as bad as the Redeemer is, that just gets me giggling so much. Whereas this one, it's like we're in the hands of professionals, and it's like, yeah, you know, like you don't have the moment of like incongruity that can be so delightful. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's definitely something to be said for those amateur, right? The more amateur productions, right? That there's a little bit more enjoyment because things go off the rails in a way that is just like very special. Yeah. And this does not go off the rails, right? It's pretty slick. But you know, sometimes you need a palate cleanser after watching so many films that have gone off the rails in very specific ways. So I appreciated watching this as a like, oh, okay, I'm in good hands. Like they're not going to lead me astray.
Yeah. And it's nice to see like every image, you know, on the screen, you know. It's nice. Yeah.
That's the thing is, it like what I said before is like it depends on if you don't mind a movie that is obviously paying tribute to other movies like that. If that bugs you, like this can maybe rub you the wrong way, right? Like if you like the Redeemer is an original, like it's terrible in its way, but it's people trying to make an original movie. This is a movie people trying to make a tribute to other movies, and like I think it's great and I love it and it's fun, but like that's a different kind of thing, right? There's a different vibe there if you're going into it consciously trying to pay tribute.
So I did look up the sequel.
Oh, nice.
It was Zombie Town. And it was marketed in some regions as a sequel, and it was alternatively titled Night of the Creeps 2 Zombie Town in Germany.
Huh. I love it.
Yeah, but not were any of the original people involved making it. Okay, they just used the title.
So it's like an unofficial sequel. So it's not a real sequel.
Yeah.
Like I had just sort of seen that, so that's why I was like, maybe that's. And then I did. They did also on the IMDb trivia page did say that the original version of the film actually ends the way Charlie and Matt saw it.
Oh wow.
But then for the theatrical release, they changed it to the edit that we saw. And then they later on released the what Matt and Charlie had seen as the director's cut.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. They must have gotten some confused test results from this test screening.
What did it win any awards or anything in our book?
I don't think so. Wait, I forget which month we watched. This is one of the early ones, wasn't it, guys?
I was just looking for it in Shock December, and I didn't see it there.
Let me see. It should be in our lovely Airtable document that I listed where each movie.
You got the hardcover of Shock December? I don't even have that.
Oh yeah. Come on.
Nice. It's $20.
I gotta order that.
So you guys watch that in July.
Okay, that sounds right. I don't have a copy handy, but it didn't feel like it. It should have. It could have won a screenplay award. You know,
Cindy must have gotten a nod for something too. Yeah, we were kind of all about her at that time.
All right. Well, next time we do this, maybe we'll be talking Campus Corpse. And for Tom and Ava and Charlie, this is Matt Farley saying good night and happy Halloween.